Yeah, we're going to call the Southeast Consolidated Zoning Board meeting to order. If we could get the roll call, please. Present.
Kelly Rast on Zoom.
Present.
Dan Foyle on Zoom.
Present.
Fred Wingert on Zoom.
Present.
Dennis Bolin on Zoom. Okay, we'll note for the record when he connects. Emily Coleman.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Agenda items. The first thing that we're going to note is we're going to move the zoning board bylaws up to the first item. So it's going to be in front of the conditional use permit application. Any other changes to the or revisions to the agenda? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as revised?
Emily Coleman, I motion to approve the revised agenda. Kelly Rast, second.
All right. All in favor of the approved agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Agenda's approved. Disclosures of conflict of interest. Anyone? Okay. Disclosures of external contacts or discussions. Anyone? None. Okay. Approval of the minutes from the March 1st, 2023 meeting.
This is Ken Klingesmith. I move to approve the minutes of the March 1st, 2023 meeting.
Emily Coleman, I second.
Right. A motion to second to approve the minutes from the March meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Meeting minutes from the March 1st meeting are approved. Board reports, Board of County Commissioner actions.
Good evening, Sean Penley, planning staff. At the last zoning board meeting, there was one application for a conditional use permit for oversized accessory building at 19740 Clearview Road. That case was heard by the Board of County Commissioners on March 30th and it was approved. That was the only update for Board of County Commissioners. I could continue with Planning Commission.
Yes.
The last Planning Commission meeting was on March 28th. And at that meeting, we had an update from the city of Overland Park on their comprehensive plan update. A planner for the city gave an update on the status of that comprehensive plan update. That's moving forward. They're continuing to have committee meetings and they expect to have that plan updated later this year. They provided a good overview with the Planning Commission, providing an update. We also had on that agenda for the last Planning Commission meeting the proposed amendments to the zoning regulations in regard to accessory buildings. There were amendments that essentially do away with the requirement for a conditional use permit. There'll be a new process for those types of applications now. It'll be a accessory building use permit, similar to an ADU permit that we have, a similar process. So we'll no longer require a conditional use permit and there will no longer be terms associated with that. Those amendments will allow for larger size accessory buildings by right. And then for anything that's in excess of the increased standards that will require the new process for accessory building use permit. I think that will streamline the applications and hopefully reduce the number of applications that come before the zoning board and BOCC for accessory buildings. So the Planning Commission recommended approval of those changes at that last meeting, and that will go on then to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. We anticipate either at the end of this month or beginning of May. So we also provided updates at that last Planning Commission meeting in regards to the Sunflower Area Plan, future land use plan update as part of the rural comprehensive plan, and also updates for the New Century Air Center and Executive Airport compatibility plans. Happy to answer any questions.
Any question on the board reports?
Sean,
Okay.
as part of the Overland Park comprehensive plan, in regards to annexing land to the south, was that part of when they discussed that?
Sean Penley, planning staff. I don't recall if there were any specific questions about the annexation. However, there was, I believe, actually, Ms. Rast did have a question for the staff of the city about future expansion or growth of the city in the area, in this area south of the city. And I don't recall the answer from the city other than there are no immediate plans that I know of for expansion in that area. However, that's all a part of their comprehensive planning area. So I know that their future city street map includes that area south of the city limits, but I don't remember any other specific discussion. I don't know if Jay, if you have anything.
Thank you, Sean. Jay Leipzig, Planning Director. My recollection, and I believe this, we talked a little bit about this at that meeting as well, that the annexation laws have changed, and I know that there are some concerns when there were the earlier annexation laws require that a municipality could annex large tracts of areas. That is no longer the case. It's much more difficult to do that. And Peg, if you want to elaborate more, but that there was a brief discussion about that in terms of an explanation, but that is about the most detailed. They got into that. They didn't talk about any particular parcels or anything like that. It was really more focused on the overall comprehensive plan itself and the structure and the implementation timeline for that plan.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks, Sean.
Hey, Fred, this is Kelly Rast. The question I had asked, because I was alluding to the new annexation of that property off of Metcalf on the west side at 185th, respectively, that 37 acres. What I did ask was when that comes in front of the Overland Park board on April 10th, and I reminded them that in the unincorporated area, we go by the golden criteria. One being, is the area going to be representative of the surrounding areas? Now, she said, yes, they would take that in consideration and stuff, but I'll kind of believe that when I see it. But that was my question, is whether they would take in the criteria that we use in the unincorporated area, if they are kind of a little island pocket of annexation. But that annexation, from my understanding, the developer offered it up to Overland Park, and Overland Park accepted it and took it. So that was what the question was.
And Commissioner Rouse, this is Jay Leipzig. Yeah, there was a brief description of the golden application, and those golden factors for reviewing applications. The county uses that criteria when we review applications, and the city of Overland Park uses that same criteria as well.
Thank you.
Anything else on the board reports? All right. So with the revised agenda, we're going to start off business before the board with the zoning board bylaws. Jay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the chance to speak again. This is Jay Leipzig, the Planning Department. In your packet this evening are the latest draft alliteration of the bylaws, which included comments and suggestions after the March 1st, 2023 meeting. You all had also the new updated copy of the Code of Ethics, also the new acknowledgement of receipt, and then the boards, commissions, and committees application form was also included in your packet. And with that, I'll turn it over to Peg Trent, our Chief Legal Counsel.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, Peg Trent, Chief Counsel and Director of the Legal Department for Johnson County. You have before you the bylaws as amended and as requested by this board. There was also provided to you subsequent to your last meeting a memo from Bob Ford with our office outlining membership of the Consolidated Zoning Board. At this point, the current resolution about how membership is to occur does not include township trustees. It was because it was a consolidated board, as the memo states, the Board of County Commissioners elected to not directly appoint the trustees to the consolidated board. That is a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. I will submit to you on the previous consolidation. I believe, Jay, help me if it was the Northeast. Trying to think of which one ever it was that they consolidated. I don't believe, put the trustees either. Northwest, sorry, Northwest. They did not put the trustees on that board either. However, jurisdictionally, you do need to include individuals from those communities. I amended the rules, what this board directed me, not what I had previously. I will, if this submit to you, if this goes to you do pass this tonight, and I'd be asking you to vote on it. I will be bringing that to the attention of the commissioners when it goes up, because they have to approve the bylaws upon your recommendation. And I will advise them that currently the resolution does not contain that. And then there will be a discussion related to that.
Mr. Chair, Jay Leipzig again, I believe that was the only change on on this last draft. Everything this board has seen before a couple of times now.
Okay. I guess with that, we'll open it for discussion here among the board members before we ask for a motion. Anybody have any questions or comments?
This Ken Klingensmith. I'm not as concerned if it's someone a township trustee as much as someone's on the township board that participates to ensure there's representation of the area that we are kind of responsible for. So if we were to have any issues with the work term of the trustee, I would, my focus is to ensure the board's board members' participation exists for each of those three areas.
This is Kelly Ross. I agree with that too. And Peg, were you saying that when you brought that up to the county commissioners, was it about can you just clarify whether it was somebody on the township or whether it was just somebody on the board representing those areas?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I may respond to.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Basically, this issue has not been brought to the board. What I had brought to the board on your behalf seems like a long time ago, back on February 2nd, I believe. I brought back to the board when we were doing the rules of order about who has the authority to appoint to the board, meaning which commissioner, because there was a resolution that was contrary to the current practice that we had of the district that you're in appointing to this board. I did not bring up this actual membership issue. When this issue was brought up, when we were having our dialogue about the bylaws, it was discussed at that time among you as the board members about why don't we have the trustees from each of these jurisdictions? And that's what started the conversation. So Bob Ford wrote the memo to you that I think dated March 1, right after your meeting, that outlined that it's the board's decision. And, there was different representation at that time. And if you do a strict interpretation of that statute, I could see where an attorney would have interpreted in a consolidated situation. You can't mandate that it's a trustee from that board. When it's a normal zoning board, the statute's clear that you have to have that trustee. So to answer your question, the board has not decided that issue yet. I know this board has requested it. I may have brought it up, Kelly, but I can't remember. I don't think I ever did in that context, to be candid. So if you approve these bylaws tonight, that would be brought up for my discussion with them and recommendation, because their current resolution says something different than what we're recommending. And they would need to then instruct me to go revise my resolution to coincide before adoption, or they'll change it to the language below that I had recommended. So it's kind of in a situation right now. I will tell you, it's my intent to come back at a COW. They instructed me on appointments, and I'm starting with plan and zoning boards first, and talking about appointments and membership. So I intend to bring that up, but I have, to the best of my recollection, Jay, help me, I don't think I've brought it up to the board yet.
Okay.
I think
thank
there's members that know about it, but I just haven't told.
And just to be clear, Jay Leipzig, COW is a committee of the whole.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Well, yes, Peg, my question might be if this is yet to go before the board with that change and there's consensus that we just want to make sure that each township is represented and it doesn't need to be the trustee, can we go ahead and make that change
Yes.
with
you
the
can.
motion?
Yes.
Okay,
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean and Jay, it's the paragraph below. So you would substitute the crossed out language below. Let me make sure. Hold on just a minute. Let me read this. Yes, that is correct. That's how you would do it.
and
And then you would have to also amend paragraph, let me make sure. Yes, that would be correct. And do I have Bob Ford and Ryan on the line? Are they on?
Bob Ford is.
Okay, Bob, did you have any, I just want to make sure that I heard your voice too. Did you have any questions with substituting? We would just simply substitute out the paragraph that was crossed out instead of the one under 4.01. Is that correct?
Well, I think that's correct, but I think what the change that you're making is that currently the township trustees, the elected township trustees, are not automatically members of this zoning board.
Correct.
If the change desired is that the electeds are to be members, then this board's recommendation will have to go to the Board of County Commissioners, and the Board of County Commissioners will have to change the existing resolution that set it up in 2017 the way it is now. And I think that's what you explained.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but this board is requesting that we make sure we have membership on this board from each of those townships, correct?
yeah, this is John Lloyd. That's the way I see it. Ken and Kelly, do you guys want to comment on that?
This is Ken Klingensmith. I agree. I don't think the trustee is what I had previously understood, but between the trustee, the clerk, and the treasurer, one of the three elected officials that make up that township board I think, should be on this board, on the zoning board. Not necessarily the trustee as that individual, but one of the three in each of those areas. We should have at least someone representing that area.
And Kelly Rast, I agree with what Ken just said. That was my intention too.
Okay, so I would not include the paragraph below. And if I understood it, you would want to amend paragraph 4.01 to indicate that SEZB shall consist of 7 members, including a elected representative from Albury, Oxford, and Spring Hill, and that part of Olathe Township. Is that what you're wanting?
Ken?
This is Ken. Yes, it opens it up so that we have an elected official from each of those areas.
Okay, I have just typed in, let's just make sure I got it right, because I want to make sure I've got it correct.
I do undo, and I would just change trustee to board. An elected official from the township board of.
Okay, excuse me, hold on, let me, what did I do wrong? It's not,
I think you just undo. You should be fine.
oh, undo. Oh no, yeah,
Top
could you
right.
do? I'm having trouble.
One more time. There, it just changed trustee to board.
This is Fred Wingert. I would like a change where it says the remaining members shall be appointed by the 3rd District Commissioner with the approval of the Board of County Commissioners.
Let me add board trust.
I believe that, is it correct that the Southeast Zoning Board is all within the third commissioner's district?
That's correct. Also, it would also be the chair. The chair is at large too, just so you know.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that. What was that again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I did. Hold on. I'm having trouble typing in that at the same time. It would be also the chair, because you are correct that the third district is in your district of where the jurisdiction is, but also it would be the chair because he's elected at large. So those are the two positions.
And one of my fellow commissioners, I don't understand what the chair has to do. The chair of the board of the county commissioners or the chair of the Southeast zoning board?
I'm sorry, chair of the county commissioners, he's elected at large. So technically he would be in your jurisdiction as well as Commissioner O'Hara being elected, since all of you at large would be, even your jurisdiction of your venue of this area would vote for the chair and also Commissioner O'Hara. So if you're looking, your question was, you wanted to add about the third district, and that's correct. Is that in her jurisdiction? That is correct. But also the chair, he's also elected from that area.
The chair, however, would not be required to live in the third district where the third district commissioner would. So,
Well, right now, we don't have a resolution. Right now, in practice, it's been the third district.
okay. Well,
I was just answering your question. I'm not getting into what you want. So if you want the third district, I can add that.
I would just like what do the commissioners on the line, how do they feel about that?
This is Ken Klingensmith. I'm in agreement with that, Fred.
So Kelly Rath, so am I saying that out of all the commissioners, the third district's the only one that has the chair have an extra voice or say in it?
Correct. The chair would be, it'd just be the chair and the third district. And I do agree that you can put in your bylaws this, and if they agree to it, I mean, that goes. Because we brought that motion before and we wanted to have a study on it. So you could add this, but I'm just saying technically, when you're getting into technical, who votes in your area, it would be two of the commissioners, one being the chair and the third district. In practice right now, even though it wasn't what our resolution said, so we've repealed the resolution, which was contrary to our practice. So we've been doing in practice, Commissioner O'Hara from the third district's been appointing all.
But going back, Dave Lindstrom appointed, Steve Klicka appointed, so it's been a practice for quite some time that the third district, right, Ken?
This is Ken. I agree with you, Fred.
Right, so.
This is Dan Foyle. I agree with Ken and Fred as well.
Pardon me. Yeah, this is John Lloyd. I'm good with it, just reading the third district.
Emily Coleman, I just want to make sure I understand. So the board, the township board, is already composed of elected officials, correct?
Correct.
And then in this case, it would be one of those previously elected officials that would consent to serving. It wouldn't be like a new elected official. Is that-
No, it would be one that's already been elected in that community.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly Rath, I agree too. It should only be the commissioners to keep it consistent across the board of how everyone is done. I just think that seems the most appropriate.
Okay, but I want to be, if you vote for this, I want to be candid because I don't want to be deceitful. I will be advising the board, so I'm being open with you, that our current resolution is contrary to this. This is the practice, how they set up the board. With appointments, they had directed me to report back, which we will. They will have your bylaws because these have to go to, so at least it will start that dialogue with the commissioner. But my recommendation is when asked the specific question, who has voted, which will be asked, it is both the chair and the third district, just like it would be for Commissioner Allenbrand in the sixth. It would be the chair and Commissioner Allenbrand. If we do one, we do the other. It isn't going, you know what I'm saying? So I was just wanting to make sure.
Yeah, this is Fred Wingard. I'm still confused. I'm not clearly following. So my original point was that I wanted a third district commissioner that's on the board because we elected her or him to serve for us. The chair of the board is elected by 5 other districts along with our district. So whoever is the chair of the board isn't elected by the people that the citizens of the third district. So I'm not sure why we keep going back to the chair, but the point here is the person that represents the people and the geography of the Southeast Zoning Board is the third district commissioner. So that's the one that
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm not going back and forth. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying my position legally that the chair is also elected, which you just said, from the district. So if I'm asked the pointed question from which it isn't what we've been doing in the practice, it isn't what we've always been doing. We haven't been following a resolution at all. We haven't been doing anything other than past practice. So I'm just trying to make sure you're aware. I don't want to be deceitful. I'm trying to be open with you that is an issue. So it will be discussed, but I'm putting what you want in this bylaws.
This is Dan Foyle. Just to understand, sorry to interrupt me. Just to be clear, so the other zoning boards or the other boards that report to the Board of County Commissioners, do they have that stipulation that it is their representative and the chairman?
Not right now, no. Right now it has, we don't have any, right now with the other board, the appointment resolution, which we have been doing contrary to what the former resolution, and the board has now repealed that resolution. The resolution they repealed indicated that they were to alternate people from the board to your zoning board from all the districts, which in theory, it would not make sense because they're not accountable to the voters in that district. So that has been, so in practice, we did what made sense, but no one repealed the resolution or corrected it legally. So what they did when they did the rules of order, they repealed that resolution. And I had explained to you that we right now are going to continue to follow past practice, which is Commissioner O'Hara appointing. However, this is still an issue up for discussion. And I'm trying to just make you aware when we're having that discussion, this issue will come up. So you're not surprised, so that you're aware that the chair is also elected from that area. So conceivably, there could be a request, even in Allenbrand's, if we do it that way, that it's Commissioner Allenbrand and the chair and Commissioner, what's her name? O'Hara and the chair.
Emily Coleman.
Thank you. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Emma. Sorry.
So I guess my understanding right now is that we're happy with the practice and that's what we're trying to put into writing. Is that?
I'm not getting into happiness, nor would I inject
On a scale
happiness.
of 1 to 10?
I'm just trying to tell you, this is a topic for conversation.
Right. I guess my question then is, presuming that that practice is what we're trying to put into writing, how would we write that so that?
I'm trying to do it right now, that the SEZB shall consist of 7 members, including an elected official from the Township Board of Aubrey, Oxford, and Spring Hill, and that part of Olathe Township. So that sentence correct. The remaining members shall be nominated by the 3rd district member and appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, of who are residents of the townships that make up the SEZB. If the township board member fails to, if any, I'm going to put, any township board member fails to give consent to serve on the SCZB, the third district member of the Board of Commissioners shall nominate, and the Board of County Commissioners shall appoint.
Emily Coleman, so it's not like Commissioner O'Hara will have a certain number of nominations and then the chair will have a separate one. This would be like,
The way you've written it, no, the chair will have no say in this, the way you've written it, if the board by majority agrees with you. If the board of the majority doesn't agree and it's brought up about the chair, I'm giving you heads up right now that that will be a dialogue.
This is Fred Winger. We haven't approved the minutes yet of the last couple of meetings, but I want to be clear because there's been I went back to our meeting we had 2 months ago, and then I read the minutes that we were sent, and there was some confusion between what this board has said and maybe what was communicated based on the minutes that I read, but no one has said that anything about any individual commissioner. We have always said the third district commissioner.
I apologize.
And-
I was just saying a name.
I know, but when I read the minutes for last month, it was said that and I have it highlighted here, that we wanted Commissioner O'Hara to be making appointments, and I went back and looked at the previous minutes, and that wasn't said by anyone on our board. Everyone said we wanted the third district commissioner.
Okay, that needs to be amended when you vote on them. I didn't do the minutes, so I have no say in that. And I do recall you saying third district. I remember repeating it back to you verbatim as you instructed me to do. And
Okay.
so I don't recall you ever saying O'Hara tonight. I'm just saying it because it's easier for me, but I apologized, and I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to make sure I accurately capture it. So right now I've made the corrections, what this board wants in your bylaws. If you can take a moment and look at that, did I accurately capture it, or is there any issues with the way I wrote it? And just for clarification, here, I'll give you a minute to finish reading. I apologize. And I just don't want any confusion anymore. And maybe I should say, and this is what I want to clear up too. So when it says that you're going to nominate anybody that is a board member, elected official on that township boards can serve, that would mean that we have to give the clerk direction. What if 2 of them want to serve, or all 3 of them want to serve from that board? So we should be more specific. And that's why the trustee was used, because that was already something in the statute. And that's why you were leaning towards that. And so right now, when we don't know who it is, maybe we want it that the third district member selects even the elected official from that township board. So maybe we do all of it, because if I don't, who's going to pick? If it's the trustee, we know the clerk will just go to the trustee. Hey, do you want to serve? If you don't want to serve, that's what's in the state statute for regular zoning. They're not consolidated. Here, now we've got confusion because there's 3, I think 3 or how many members are on? 5 members or 4? I don't remember. 3. I think.
Township board has 3 members.
3 members. So how do you pick which one? So maybe we do put that the third district member of the board makes that decision, which one to ask. And if none of them agree, then that's when she just goes, the third district member goes to someone in that jurisdiction. Do you see what I'm saying right now?
Yeah, this is John Lloyd. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Kelly asked, why can't the township just figure that out and offer that person up?
So do you want me to put that in there? We just need to clarify. I think this is confusing right now and I'm trying to avoid future confusion. So if you want me to add that, I can. If you'd prefer that they decide among themselves.
Ken,
I This,
Ken,
and I kind of look at it as the township board can, I mean, anytime we have a conflict, there's 3 members on the board to vote. So we always have an odd number for voting.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we just make sure that it somehow gets down to 1.
Right.
That's clear that it's 1.
And this is I have another comment to make, but I'll let her finish typing first.
Okay, this is something I'm just throwing together. So this way, how does that go with you guys? I'm just trying to put something out there. I just want to make sure it's clear.
I think that addresses the intent.
Yeah.
agree.
The other comment is the second to the last sentence says any person appointed to serve in a township board member's place shall hold the position on the Southeast Zoning Board. I think you can put a period there because they won't serve necessarily on the township board. Second to the last sentence, sorry. Right there, it says any person appointed to serve in a township board member's place shall hold a position on the zoning board, but that doesn't mean they'll serve on the township board.
Oh, yep, good catch.
Oh, so you're saying that, let's say that I'm an elected on the Township Board of Aubrey. I get off or resign from Aubrey, but I still reside in Aubrey. That would be okay.
Or if nobody from the board wanted to serve and the commissioner picked a person, that
Okay.
the way it reads now, that person would be on the township board. As it says, as long as they serve on the board.
Yeah, because this, I
They
think,
might not be on the board ever.
Right.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
This is Fred Wingert. Does the last sentence need to say residents, all member shall be residents of the Southeast Johnson County unincorporated area? Because in theory, unincorporated could be outside of this geography, correct?
How about jurisdiction?
Jurisdiction.
How about just put Southeast after unincorporated? That's fine too. That works.
Okay. Okay, so are there any questions on this yet? And then I'm going to have Bob to weigh in real quick if he sees any issues that,
This is Kelly Rouse. Should you have the zoning board? Should it just be all members shall be residents of the southeast jurisdiction of Johnson County? Take off the ZB. Because we got a lot of people.
how about we do it modified differently?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for catching that.
And then I just want to re-clarify because I was confused a minute ago when I asked a question. And then, so just to reconfirm where everything stands, what I'm hearing is, because I thought only the chair had a say in our zoning board, but the chair has a say, technically has a say in across the board on every person's zoning board with every commissioner. But are you saying right now, as you're doing bylaws for the different zoning boards, they're in flux right now as far as which areas are either putting in the chair or putting out or leaving them out?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, you're the only zoning board that has brought this issue up. Everybody, we're doing practice as usual. We're not putting it in the bylaws. We're allowing the commissioners to have an opportunity to discuss that and decide that, give direction. And if they do change anything, then there will be resolutions, and then we'll go and modify the bylaws to be consistent with their doing. So no other board has but we're not changing the practice. We're still having, the 3rd or the 6th district. So we're not changing anything right now. It's status quo, kind of what we've been doing custom. But this is the only board that's putting it in.
Okay, do the other zoning boards, since this has been sort of a little bit of a confusing issue, are they well versed on understanding this issue as well, do you think?
Yes.
Or we've taken a deeper dive into it?
Yes, I advised them, similar to you, of the situation. I've tried to be open and candid as much as possible about the situation of the confusion of appointments, and that we would be visiting that issue at a later date. But we're just going forward with the bylaws because I don't know when that'll be finalized. And I just wanted you to have bylaws and just move forward and then go back and revise. And so there was discussion at the committee of the whole that we would still maintain our custom and practice until we have an opportunity. And Commissioner O'Hara, because I provided her at her request a motion, attempted in the rules of order to add this specifically about zoning. And I think it was voted down because they wanted to give an opportunity to come back and have discussion during a committee of the whole. But no other board has this. And that's why I'm trying to tell you, I will be saying something when it comes back about that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other comments, suggested changes, questions?
And I don't know if Bob's on. I keep going to Bob. I want to make sure. Have you reviewed that, Bob? Is there anything that you would tighten up in language there before they vote on it?
Well,
Without getting into the legal that, we know what
Here,
the resolution says.
I'll probably have some comments later when I have a chance to go back and look at some things. But if this is a 7-person board now, and when this new organizational setup goes into
So
effect.
Bob, at this point, legally, Bob, we'll get into that later. Let's not talk about that here. I'm doing what this board is asking of us. When we advise the Board of County Commissioners, we'll come back. But right now, you would have conceivably, the way that they're requesting, 3 members from each of the 3 townships, and then the remaining 4 would be, I'm using this for a lack of better words, at large from their jurisdiction. That's what they're requesting. So I don't want to get into whether we agree or disagree, because obviously we have a resolution where our commissioners have talked. I will give them legal advice at a later date at a COW. We don't want to go down that, but I'm just saying from the way that it's written and they're requesting, we're doing what they want. Do you see any issues? The way it's written?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If
Not
this
the law.
If this goes into effect, there will be 4 members from 4 elected township board members on this board. So if currently none of the sitting 7 members are also elected members of Aubrey, Oxford, Spring Hill, and that part of Olathe Township, then the 4 of the 7 existing members won't be eligible to sit on this board. And that's the only comment I want to make. It's just
No, it's a good comment. So do you want to say that, do we want to add a line then that the current existing till the expiration of the terms to decide that? Or are there others who are going to volunteer to step off and be, how should I say, removed from the board? Or do you want me to put some provision in the event of an election, your terms expiring? I can write something to that effect. Thank you, Bob. That's a good point.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Jay Leipzig, Planning Department. I think just as a legal, legal mind, just in terms of, practicality, I think I would, include some language that allowing the existing board members to continue or fulfill their term till that expires. It just seems like that, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
That seems like that would be the easiest, most kind of seamless way to move forward.
This is taking longer than we thought here. To serve a term, and I apologize to the people in the audience. I'm sorry. To serve a term.
This is kind of, I was gonna say, do you just want to put a period after term?
Yeah. Perfect, you're
So
right.
what will that setup be? That will be 3 township board members and 4, for lack of a better term, at large appointees. Is that correct?
Correct. That's what it will ultimately. get
Yes.
to, but it'll take time till you finish your term.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Fred Winger here. When Bob was speaking, he said 4, so I just wanted to clarify. Aubrey, Oxford, and Spring Hill.
He was including Olathe Township too. the
Which
board
doesn't
member.
have a board. Yeah.
They don't. Oh, so then it's 3, Bob.
So what does the part in that part of Olathe Township lying south of 143rd? What is the purpose of that if they don't have a board?
Well, they don't have to be a board member. It could be a person that lives in that small area that could serve on this board because they're in your jurisdiction of the Southeast Zoning Board. Doesn't necessarily have to be a township, but you should put that in because that's the jurisdiction.
Okay.
I think it's called Olathe Township, even though there's not a board.
So then this is Dan Boyle, would they have someone that's elected? Because the way I'm reading that is someone, an elected official from the township, Aubrey, Oxford, Spring Hill.
It says from the township board.
So you'll have 7 members, including an elected official from the township of Aubrey, Oxford, and Spring Hill, and a member from that part of Olathe Township lying south of 143rd Street. So that's 4 with specific requirements of where you're going to live. And I'm going to submit to you, that's going to be really hard if I put that because there may only be a few people living in that area, maybe 7 people. I don't know. They may be children. I don't know. So I could get rid of
I think the
this.
intent would be to take that out.
Okay.
This is Ken. I'm supportive of that.
This is Dan, I am too. And they would be covered if they were in the jurisdiction of Southeast Zoning Board otherwise.
Right.
Anyway.
Which is up above.
Yep.
Right here. I'm 101 is the jurisdiction.
Just, Sean Penley, planning staff, just as a friendly amendment request to that, you could also add in there, may include but not be required or something to that effect. Just in case one of the 7 members happens to live in that area and it's somebody that's appointed, you can be considered. Because otherwise, if you strike that part, then nobody from that part of the Olathe Township could be on this board. Is that correct?
No, they can up at paragraph 1, 1.0, anybody that's in this jurisdiction.
Be on the board, but they're not.
So yeah, it
required.
could,
Okay.
Yeah, that's just including, that's trying to capture
Yeah.
an elected person from the board.
Thank you.
Board.
Well, Kelly Rast, it also says it in the very last sentence,
yes.
in the exact paragraph. So they're
Thank
covered
you.
several times.
Thank you. I forgot that. Okay, so there's no other revisions then in these bylaws, and that is what this board is recommending to the BOCC.
I think so. Somebody want to make a motion?
I want to add a signature line for the chair. So once the BOCC signs it, the chair will sign off on these two.
Mr. Chairman, this is Fred Wingert. I would make a motion that we pass these bylaws as we put them tonight and send them to the Board of County Commissioners.
Dan Foyle, I second.
So how, in the motion, are we just, we're referring to the edited version?
Yes.
Okay,
It's amended.
all right. The amended version that we see on the screen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so that'll be taken up to the county commissioners.
Yes, I'm
As it
not
is,
sure
okay,
when it will be put on. It probably will be, we'll have to talk it over when agenda review to get it on, but we'll make sure it gets on and notify all of you so that Jay will make sure of that.
Okay.
And I'm going to be adding, just so you know, a signature line for the chair. I don't know if that's correct, but we need to have that for the chair. Okay.
This is Kelly Ross. I just have a quick procedural. Oh, Peg, hold on. I have a question. For a procedural question from the standpoint, if the BOCC makes any changes, will they just make the changes they want and adopt it, or does it get sent back to us? Can you clarify that?
Yeah, good question. They'll make the change from the dais and it will not come back to you, and they'll have the final word, if you will. But keep in mind, I'm still bringing forward a recommendation, and that we're going to have during a committee of the whole. So there'll be more opportunities to discuss this. This isn't what I'm trying to say. You'll have this initial discussion. If it doesn't go forward, or they may decline to do this until they've heard the committee of the whole, and then they'll make a decision and direct me to do something, and then it'll come back. But whatever we do, we're going to come back and tell you what happens. Jay will, and staff will tell you. But right now, that isn't the final word, is what I'm trying to tell you, because we have to decide what they want to do with planning and zoning boards for appointments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Peg. Jay, thank you. Nope. All right. Lost my agenda. Okay. Now, we're ready for the second item, business before the board, application SE 23273 CUP conditional use permit 20219 Metcalf Avenue, KC Motor Company applicant and Stillwell Properties landowner. So applicants are here. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your patience while we did laundry up here. Okay, staff report.
Karen Miller with the Planning Department, and the applicants present today are Steve and Cindy Reed of KC Motor Company. The applicants request a renewal of a conditional use permit approved in 2009, allowing retail sales of passenger vehicles, motorcycles, and power sports equipment. And I'll stop and take a look at this site, and I'd like to point out, look at the amazing amount of open space. This property owned by KC Motor Company is actually 2 lots at a little bit over 2 acres. And the site is developed only, less than half of the land that they own. And one of the stipulations is that the vacant lot to the south has to remain vacant as part of the conditional use permit. I'll also point out that there's a lot of existing landscaping, trees and a lot of landscaping around the existing sign. So there's a lot of landscaping. There's a lot of screening. The applicant has replaced the fence, so there's a newer fence. It goes along the entire north side, the entire east side, and half of the south side of the developed area. And this is a very nice new privacy fence that screens
the views of the vehicles for sale from the residential area. There's a little bit to the north of the lot, and also to the east of the lot, and to the south of the lot. And also notice that the existing homes here, and here have a very, very large buffer between the actual developed area. So there's a very large setback. There's a nice, well-maintained privacy fence, and some trees and landscaping. And so I'd like to direct your attention to the first page of the staff report. And at the bottom of the page, I started just a summary of the stipulations that will be applied to this property. And in the back there are the actual stipulations. There's 24 of them. That sounds like a lot, but I think that those 24 stipulations do a really good job of controlling the use and making sure that it's compatible with the area, and particularly the residential area to the east and south. So the use requires PRB3 zoning and a CUP. This PRB3 zoning and the CUP, as I mentioned, was granted in 2009. And so there'll be a little bit of light reconditioning, like polishing, waxing, detailing, and very minor touch-up painting, but there won't be any maintenance and repair activities on the subject property. I already mentioned the screening and buffering. I already mentioned the wood privacy fencing, the established trees. And then also, you'll notice here up on the screen, there's about five or six cars along the Metcalf frontage on the north side of the lot. And I went out to the site and I looked at the site with the applicant, and we decided that it would be good to have a row of low shrubberies or grass or something at least 2 feet tall, not to totally screen those cars, but just to soften it and give it just a little bit more polished feel. So the stipulation will require some additional landscaping here. And then on page 2, I summarized the parking. And for this, I'm going to go to the proposed development plan. And you'll notice on the development plan up on the screen that there's actually striped parking spaces. And there's 54 of these striped parking spaces on the development plan. That's for the inventory parking. And a large portion of this inventory will be stored behind the building, in front of the privacy fence to the side of the building. And the privacy fence, if you remember, goes all along the north, the east, and half of the south side of the developed area. And then right here is also some parking, but there's some established trees. There's some nice landscaping here. And also just notice that there's this huge buffer. So a total of 54 exterior spaces for inventory. Also, right here, there's a little bit of a gravel strip that it's not asphalt. And the applicant and I discussed it, and we thought that it would look better, particularly up here, if this area was asphalted instead of gravel. So that's a stipulation, is to convert this. It's about maybe a 10-foot strip of gravel that will be also asphalted. The building, I have if I can find it. Elevation of the building. This is a little bit old. I got this from the appraiser site. The landscaping is more established than this, but it's a well-maintained building. And then also, I have some pictures of the interior of the building too. So inside the building, there's cars and then the motorcycles and power sports equipment. That's on the inside of the building. And then lighting. And when I'm done talking about the stipulations and the golden criteria and such, I'd like to just end up with looking at the lighting. I've offered a stipulation regarding the exterior lighting that's updated to reflect the lighting guidelines for the Stillwell area and new technology available. So right now there's two lighting fixtures. Both of them look like this. It's a shoebox style, but it's not geared for the LED technology. And so the idea is to retool this so that the LED lights can be put in, but we put in the requirement that you can't go over the 3000 K or 250 watts, that it should be the warmer lighting, and that any lighting on the property shall be directed downward, shall not cause glare off-site. Any new poles shall be no more than 18 feet. These are existing, and it appears to me like they're a little bit closer to 20. They're already there. So I have a stipulation that updates the previous one, and we can look at that at the end. And then the last stipulation that I want to look at is operation. So much of the applicant's business is brought to the site from their internet presence, and they don't use typical marketing tools for a car lot. There's no balloons, banners, flags, signs, numerous signs, writing in the car windows. They don't have a PA system. So that the outward appearance of the business is intended to be low key, and planning staff thinks that's been achieved. And their hours of operations are the typical business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturday from 9 to 5. Next, I want to touch on minimum infrastructure requirements. I covered that on page 4 of the staff report. This was also covered in the initial conditional use permit and rezoning. It was looked at very detailed, and this site continues to meet all any sort of infrastructure requirements and to have adequate infrastructure serving the site. On page 5 of the staff report is the golden analysis. And again, staff looked at all of the criteria, and the site continues to meet all 5 golden criteria. Number 1, it's consistent with existing zoning and uses of the nearby properties. And I'm trying to get to my zoning map. Here it is. Here's zoning of the nearby properties. This whole area, Coventry Estates, it's about 100 acres. It was platted and zoned in the 1970s. So this strip of commercial zoning was established 30 or 40 years ago. And in this area, there's the convenience store, there's an HVAC company, there's an office building, there's a new contractor's shop and yard approved, Hogue. That's a very recent CUP that's approved just north of this. So this property continues to be part of that mixed use area and is part of this established strip of commercial zoning. So yes, it's consistent with the existing zoning and uses in the nearby property. On page 6, compatible with the character of the neighborhood. I've been talking about the stipulations that we have put on this site, the 24 stipulations. And I think that in the past, it's done a good job of controlling the site, and it will continue forward controlling the site, particularly because we've updated that lighting stipulation. Page 7, suitability for the property for uses to which it's been restricted. There's a commercial building on the site. It has PRB3 zoning. And so if this business wasn't here, the other allowed uses could be established. An extent of detrimental effects to nearby parcels if the CUP is approved. Again, if there's a generic auto lot, that could include visual detriments from the storage of the vehicles on the site, from lightings, from sounds caused by the PA, unloading cars from large trucks, that type of thing. But this is a specialized kind of used car lot. It's a very low-key presence, and like I mentioned before, we've stipulated it and worked with the applicant to control those impacts. Those are kind of the main golden criteria I wanted to look at. And then the recommendation, planning staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit for the stipulations as listed on page 9 of the staff report. And I just thought I would take a couple minutes and read the updated stipulation. Stipulation number 16 says, all exterior light fixtures located on the subject property shall be of a shoebox or similar design and shall not exceed the equivalent lumens of 250 watt incandescent light bulbs or 3000 K LED. All lights shall utilize a cutoff design to prevent glare and light spillage off-site. All lights shall be directed down onto the subject property and shall be shielded and aimed such that no glare or bare bulbs shall be seen off the subject property. All future light poles shall not exceed a height of 18 feet. The 2 existing light poles indicated on the development plan may remain at 20 feet. Prior to alteration of existing exterior lighting or installation of future lighting, the application shall submit a lighting plan to the zoning administrator for administrative review to ensure that all exterior light fixtures meet the requirements of the stipulation. All exterior lighting, including existing lighting on the subject property, shall conform with the requirements of the stipulation within 6 months of approval of this permit. It's a little bit long, but this is an important part of its impact on the area. And like I said, the applicant is agreeable to this stipulation. And with that, I'll point out the reasons for the CUP are on page 11. And if the board is interested, there's a suggested motion if they care to use it. With that, I'll take questions.
Emily Coleman, do the other businesses in that commercial strip along Metcalf and what is that, 199th? Are those all under the same kind of 10-year conditional use permit type situations?
So I did not pull every single CUP. I'm thinking that Hogue, that was approved, was it maybe last year? And that was a 10-year permit. And then the HVAC, that was, which is like kind of just south of the gas station, that was approved not too long ago. And I would think that was a 10-year. Now, some of the other uses have been there a little bit longer, and I'm not sure about those.
Would these gas stations and like Evergy, would we expect them to have longer conditional use permit times, or would that be expected to be?
The gas station? The gas station is
See a Shell and the Stillwell station. Is that a gas station?
Those have been there for a very long time. And so those might even be grandfathered in.
Well, Sean Penley, planning staff, I believe there are some other businesses along the Metcalf corridor that would be allowed and permitted under the zoning and would not require conditional use permits. So that's another thing to consider. So only those uses that Karen had mentioned would require conditional use permit. So there have been some recent ones. They have probably some similar stipulations, but a car sales lot is a little bit different than the others. So this may have maybe more stipulations than some of the others, but as one of the other example that Karen mentioned, the most recent was that Hogue Contractors, since they had outdoor storage, they did have very similar stipulations in terms of screening. I think they had similar requirements for lighting as well.
And a 10-year permit, it's not overly short, but it's not overly long. And for something like this, it's really kind of a nice timeline because it just encourages the application to kind of spruce up the property again, make sure that the fencing, the landscaping, the asphalt's in good condition, and that they're not, wandering around parking off the paved surfaces. So, planning staff thinks that that's a good amount.
Gotcha. One more question. Does the RUR, is there a strong expectation that that is going to be developed within the next 10 years or so, or?
Sean Penley, planning staff. So we're talking about the west side of Metcalf.
Yes.
I don't know if there is a plan at this time. I would anticipate at some point in time that would be developed. As you go further west, there's the Stonegate Motor Test Track property and then the car condominiums. I'm not aware of any immediate plans for the RUR property just on the west side of Metcalf, but I would imagine at some point it's likely that would develop. But of course, that would require its own separate hearing with a rezoning or a conditional use permit request.
Sure. I just wanted to kind of get an idea of timeline, what expectations were out in that area. So.
This is Ken.
Staff, not aware of anything at this time.
This is Ken Smith. Karen, I think you did a really nice job on the thoroughness in your staff report, and I thank you for that. I think the business has been there. They've been a good contribution to the community, and I am supportive of this application.
Thanks, Ken.
Fred Wingert, I had a question. At what point do the new requirements start? Did you say 16 and down are all new requirements?
See, you said 16, I said 16 and down, like the stipulation 16 and,
So you mentioned that all the new requirements of the business. What number do those start at? That weren't on the original CV. Or did I hear that right? Maybe I didn't hear that right.
yeah, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. So what I'm hearing is that you're wondering which of these stipulations have some alterations to them. Is that what you're asking?
Did you say that you're asking for some additional things to be added to the CUP?
I have updated some of the stipulations. I updated the stipulation for the lighting fixture. I added some landscaping in front of the 5 cars on the northwest part of the development plan. Let's see, the parking.
Those are throughout the document, though. Those aren't, they weren't added. They just added them throughout the document.
Yes, it is
Perfect.
throughout
Okay.
the document.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I agree with Ken. It was very thorough and well written. Thank you.
And I agree with Ken and Fred as well. It's a great asset to the Stillwell community out there. It's always neat as a pen, and it's a great group of people to have out there.
Any other questions for the staff? All right, Karen, thank you. Applicants, can you guys step up and introduce yourselves real quick and add anything you'd like to add? Names and addresses, please.
I'm Steve Reed. This is my wife, Cindy Reed. We reside at 10503 West 145th Terrace in Overland Park.
Okay. Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, it's been a pleasure doing business in Stillwell. The community has supported us extremely well. We've made a lot of friends, hopefully feel like we've been a positive influence in the community, and we do like to contribute, when schools need additional things and or auctions or whatever that might be. We participate in the community and find it quite fun. 4th of July parade, all those types of things that make Stillwell unique, and the participation is fun for us as well.
Okay.
It's the community's supported it. We've been successful, and I would imagine we'll only continue to improve the property as we go along, and as things move south, business will just continue to improve as well, I think.
We've lived in Johnson County for 30 years now, and I'm also a real estate agent licensed in Kansas. And so we have 3 kids in the Blue Valley schools. So we are big supporters of the area. And I feel like we've been really good neighbors and would continue to be so.
Thank you. I just have one quick question. You're in agreement with all the stipulations?
Yes.
Okay.
They are consistent with what we might have done anyway. And we do want to be good neighbors to Stillwell as a whole, but particularly those around us. It would not, a lot of businesses like ours wouldn't be pleasant to live around if it weren't operated in such a way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Great, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, we don't have anybody out in the public seats to make any comments. Any Zoomers out there? Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Fred Windred. I drive by this business a couple times a day. It's immaculate. They keep it in great condition. I couldn't speak highly of the way they operate their business. I've never done business with them, but they're every business in Johnson County does good care of their business. We wouldn't need regulations. So I think they've been a great member. I support it and be glad to make a motion if no one else has comments.
Emily Coleman, these seem at face value very, valued members of the community and contributing members. And I am always in support of making things as easy as possible for local business. I support this.
Okay. Yeah, this is John Lloyd. I concur. They're good members of the community. It's a nice looking building and just everything is positive. So pretty much everybody's spoken. Somebody want to make a motion?
Kelly Rast, I make a motion that we approve application SE 23-273-CUP, the conditional use permit with all the stipulations attached.
Fred Wingert, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve recommend the CUP with the stipulations. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. That's it. So that'll be recommended up when?
This is Karen Miller. This will appear before the Board of County Commissioners Thursday, May 4th in this room, the board hearing room at 111 South Cherry Street at 9:30 in the morning.
All right. Thank you. All right, thank you, guys. And again, we appreciate your patience while we work through the other stuff at the front end. Okay, any other zoning board business?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Sean
Sean.
Penley, planning staff. I just wanted to note the next regularly scheduled meeting for the zoning board is May 3rd, and we do have one application scheduled for that meeting. So just want to
Okay.
heads up.
All right, thank you. All right, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Emily Coleman, I motion to adjourn.
John Lloyd, all second. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's it. We're adjourned till May 3rd. Right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.